All right. Welcome to our YouTube audience. We have currently speaking Valentine, our good friend, our Jewish friend who lives in the Galilee, and he's been giving us an update on things and how he spent a good bit of the night back and forth into shelter. But he's also, we're talking about how blessed we are in many respects, even given the troubles around us. So I didn't mean to cut you off, Valentine. I wanted to bring in
No,
our
it's
YouTube
okay.
friends. Yeah.
You know what? Trouble's okay. Trouble happens. It happens sometimes for a reason. I'm not saying God brings the trouble. Okay,
Yeah.
don't think I'm thinking that. But we go through things. It makes us stronger. It really does. And when we experience those things, maybe sometimes it's Hebrews call them say. Sometimes it's not for us.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's for others. And we can facilitate a blessing for others because of the things that we go through. That's okay. That's just the way it works with God and this world sometimes. And
Gotcha.
so I'm okay with what we got to go through and what we got to do. And I'll tell you, talking about the Iranian thing, just quickly without being political or anything else.
Right.
I'm so glad that targets seem to be that regime and that they're taking out the things that are going to be a danger to all of humanity.
Amen. Yeah.
And, no politics at all involved in that statement, just absolute thankfulness that that's not going to be a problem after tomorrow. So that's good stuff.
Well, thank you for the wonderful report, and please know your family and of course all the people. And just to remind people, it's there are Jews, Christians, Muslims, Druze, all living harmoniously for the most part in the land of Israel. It is an example, a beacon, a light on a hill. In many sense, and so just know that when we pray for Israelis, we're praying for people of every different faith and good people, just like Valentine, who are seeking to live their life in peace. And may that day come that Isaiah and Micah spoke about, where weapons are turned into farming implements. Man, may that day come soon and speedily, even in our day. Hey, thank you, Valentine. Thanks for the update. Stick around as long as you can, and please keep us updated. I know, you can certainly keep me in the loop with email or whatever. Just know that we've got you on our list.
Okay. I will be happy to.
Thank you, Valentine. Dr. James Tabor, you are unmuted.
I muted myself right after you unmuted me.
Yeah, that's right. So how are you?
I'm good. I know you want to get to the second year of the first day of the Exodus pretty soon.
That's okay.
But two things, really. I did talk to Simca Jacobovici, the filmmaker, yesterday, and I know many of you know him and follow what he does and so forth. He was scheduled to fly out Sunday night to LA, and I was meeting him in LA next week to do filming and other projects that we're involved in, dealing with ossuaries and tombs and so forth. So that obviously didn't happen, but he was very thankful that he was in Israel when this broke out with his family. And he has a son, Adin. Ross knows the whole family well.
Mm-hmm.
And he's on active duty. He's an officer in the IDF, but he's stationed down south in the Gaza area. And then he's got 4 girls and 1 boy, and they're all okay. And Nava, one of the girls, was trained on David's sling, and she's done her service now. But the younger daughter is in the IDF right now too.
Mm-hmm.
But they're all together. And of course, Simca is overjoyed that this action has finally taken place,
right,
against one that he calls the head of the snake, which others have used that metaphor. But with all the proxies surrounding Israel on all sides, the idea of how that's all being run and funded and so forth. So I wanted to give you his greetings. And the other thing is Betty and I, my sister, whom you know and is here, we lived in Iran for 2 years in high school before college. Our father was stationed there working with the Shah and what they call the 4-point program, which was economic and social development for Iran, bringing them out of the feudal period into the modern world. And we knew many Iranians, of course, Iranian friends. Betty went to Tehran Community School. And then over the years, I've kept up with different Iranian friends. I even had a roommate in college that was from Iran. So the one, most of you know this, so I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but so many people in our culture don't realize that Persians are not Arabs. They're Persians,
Yeah.
Iran. And so many equate Islam with being Arab. The largest Arab country is Indonesia. I'm sorry, I just messed up. The largest Muslim country is Indonesia. Not Arab is what I wanted to say. But Persia is a very different culture, as Ross was even just saying, in the Bible and otherwise. And I think that the use of Messiah, Mashiach, as Ross mentioned in the beginning, it should just kind of blow you away because in my book, I point out Restoring Abrahamic Faith, this Davidic figure is never called the Messiah, but that's all we talk about. Mashiach, Mashiach, Mashiach. And as far as that word, it's only used for a Persian. So, that's really an important point. But back to the time in Iran, I had good Iranian friends. Tehran was the Paris of the Middle East. It was like Beirut. Those are the two shining cities in the Middle East, upscale and developed. And Reza Pahlavi was born while I lived there. I remember this incredible celebrations when he was born, and he's been living in exile ever since. So, and then the grandchildren and all. And later I was in Beverly Hills and got to meet some of the royal family because they were going to Beverly Hills High, and I was going to Pepperdine University, and friends of mine made connections. And this Tabor's been to Iran. You should meet these people. So I went to a couple of receptions where the Shah's family and grandchildren and all were there. Haven't kept up with them. This was years ago. But it's an Indo-European culture, which is very much like our European culture is Indo-European. Talking about Greek and Latin and Sanskrit and so forth. And language determines so much, as you know. And when Alexander conquered Persia, he was just blown away in all the biographies we have with that culture. He compared it to Greek culture, and yet he said, we don't even have the technology and the monumental development that the Persians have, particularly the capital at Persepolis. He said, there's nothing like that in the Greek world. It was a wonder of the world. The ruins are still there. Betty and I, they did high school trips to go see these things when we were there. So I do think some people are asking me what I think, and from my experience with Iran and Iranian people, I think that they are just so progressive potentially, but are under such a lockdown in terms of the police state. As you probably know, not only do you have the Revolutionary Guard, but you have thousands and thousands of employees of the government. Every block of the city has one or two of these, and what they're doing is watching people. So let's say a woman went out the house and she didn't have the hijab right. They would be filming that and reporting it. So people are they're terrified of what could happen if you are arrested and so forth. Oh, disloyalty to you cannot speak, you can't have conversations. But when that happens, like in East Germany, it all goes underground and it can develop still. And it just needs a chance to erupt.
Yeah.
And I love that Netanyahu mentioned that in his last speech.
I do too.
He talked about Cyrus. Isn't that amazing? And he said, we're friends with you guys. We are partners. And Alexander felt the same. And, when Alexander came to Jerusalem, he didn't conquer it. Remember, the priests went out
Mm-hmm.
to meet him,
Yep.
and he said, what a culture, this Jewish culture. I've always admired you guys. So here he had Greek meeting Jewish, meeting Persian, all within a year in the year 333 CE. Isn't that kind of amazing? And then he went to Egypt too. So that's ancient. I know that's back to 300 years BCE. But uh, I mean, just think about what Ross said. Last book of the Hebrew Bible, not Malachi, but Chronicles. And what's it about? A Persian king essentially saying, go up, make
Yep.
Aliyah. And that can apply to righteous Gentiles as well, right? Isn't that amazing? So, boy, I hope that this could be the turning point.
James, I tell you, just to piggyback off of that, it is inspiring the way that Chronicles ends and the way you wrap up restoring Abrahamic faith. And I tell you, I mentioned in a text, one thing I've been thinking about, it's all I can think about is this Persian connection. And, I thought, wouldn't it be something if somehow all of this led, please God, to
Yes.
a once the proxies have, the bad have been rooted out, and the people, the good people of all race, creed, color, national origin,
Hmm.
all stream to Jerusalem with the goal of loving God and loving one another. And wouldn't it be nice if there really was in that place a house of prayer for all people? And it
Hmm.
has to do with toppling the last of these bad regimes. I mean, of course, it's a dream. It's a dream that's existed from, the First Temple period, but may it come to pass. Wouldn't that be something?
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, good to see you all. I'm going to stick around for a while. Valentine, so good to see you. Valentine's taken my courses and he's in my Tabor research community, I call
Yep.
it, the Patreon group. And we've gotten to know each other well. And he loves Bob Dylan and he sends me things on Dylan. And even he goes, go to this place in LA when you're there. Dylan did this and that, and he recorded this particular song there. And I was going to make a pilgrimage to your Dylan thing, but the trip will be rescheduled,
Yeah.
and also a trip to Israel with DNA samples and all that stuff. I'm still doing all the things. It's just on hold for now.
Yeah.
So, okay,
Well, it's good to
thanks.
see you. Thanks for joining us, James. Let's bring up Elisheva Tabor. Hello, Betty.
Hey, hello.
You
Shabbat shalom.
you know anything about Iran?
Oh, I have a
Up, you got.
I have a cruise.
I think you
What?
have
Hold
your
on.
YouTube
I do.
and
I
yeah.
have two. What?
I just muted you, but it's only just so you can straighten that out, and I will unmute you in just a moment. Let's try it.
Is it better now?
It is perfect now. Good job. I've done that too. I know what you're doing. Go ahead. Whoop. Are you
Now,
there?
can you hear me?
I
I'm
can hear
sorry.
you.
I had
Yep.
my phone on listening because the volume's better on my phone, but
I got
then
you.
all of a sudden it came on my computer. But yeah, Shabbat shalom, everybody. And Valentine, it's so good to see you. And of course, James.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got a few stories, and I won't tell them all because some of them might embarrass my younger brother.
All right. I want to
Not
hear
really.
those.
No,
Okay.
that'll be private.
Okay.
No, no, we loved living there, and just two very short stories. One is that we had a couple of people that worked for us, and one actually lived with us. She was our maid. All the Americans there had maids. It wasn't that we were high society or anything, but her name was Cobra, and she had a baby. And I often wonder. That was in 1961, 61. And I'm wondering if that baby may still be alive today. I mean, Cobra probably isn't, but we fell in love with her. She was so wonderful. You know, she was a great cook. She was our friend, like an aunt or something.
Yeah.
And then our driver, all the Americans military were required to have drivers. It was really the only safe way to get around the city. But his name was Reza. And of course, Reza is a very popular name in Iran still. But he saved my little sister's life. She had jumped into our pool and couldn't swim and was drowning. She was like at the bottom, and he jumped in, full uniform, boots and all, and pulled her out. And we loved him. And then later we had another diver named Hassan. But anyway, it truly was the Paris of the Middle East, a great place for American kids to be. So just wanted to say that. And the Iranian people are just lovely. They're beautiful, beautiful people. All the ones that we knew anyway. And like I think someone said, of course there are good people everywhere.
Yep.
But I do pray, as well as for the people of Israel, of course, and some of our friends. But I pray for the people in Iran, the innocents, that they will be rescued from this horrible regime. And Iran used to be a huge Jewish population, and now it's probably down to nothing. I mean, there may be a few secret closet Jews there, but anyway, just wanted to say that. And I know everyone here is praying for the peace of Israel.
Yes, indeed.
And actually for those prophecies to come true, when we can go up to the mountain of Yod He Vav He, and when his knowledge will cover the whole earth. That's what we're waiting for. And yes, it's a dream, but I believe it's a dream, like you said, Ross, that will one day come to pass.
Yes, indeed.
So, and I too was very touched by the end of James's book. In fact, when we talked on the phone, I mentioned that. I've always loved that quote from Chronicles. Anyway, that's all I have today, but Shabbat Shalom.
Well, stick around.
And
you may have something else. And if you do, just raise your hand.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Now, Clody, how are you, sister?
Can I use Dr. Tabor?
You can if you want to.
Shabbat Shalom, I want to, of course.
Well, you hang tight then. Let's see what Dr.
Yep.
Tabor, I saw him walk off. He grabbed something. Let's see what he got. All right, James, don't touch the
It looks
mute.
like a Loeb classic. This is Betty's textbook from Tehran Community School.
Oh,
surprising. Cool. She's going to say, how would you have that? I've kept this all these years because she went away to college in America and I stayed. And her name's in it, signed Betty Tabor. And it says Tehran Community School. And the book's called The World's Living Religions. So, Betty, this is your book. It's got your little marks in it when you took the course in world religions at Tehran Community.
Wow.
So it was a private school for lots of Iranians there. So we met around, but also diplomatic children, military children, and so forth. So there you go, Betty.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, James. I appreciate you sharing that.
That's a pretty old book. We'll have to do the math on that, but we're talking 60-something years.
But just like you and Betty, it doesn't look old at all. It looks like it's in great condition. All right. Okay, Clody. Welcome back, my sister.
Thank you for having me. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for the class. I just wanted to make two little notes for Persia and for Iran now.
Okay.
In my digging for the ancient monotheism, one of the most prominent religions is Zoroastrianism.
Yep.
And Persia or Iran is their home. And they have nothing to do with Islam.
Mm-hmm.
So they are home of another religion. Of course, they have converted and so on, but that doesn't mean that genetically they are the same.
Yeah.
And again, nobody knows because the world is a melting pot and we all have a little bit of Greek, Jew, Arab in our veins and we do not know it.
Yep.
This is what I wanted to say about that. And also I wanted to share the fact that a friend of mine, she's a journalist, and we had the opposition of the Khomeini in Albania for two or 3 years. They had a big refugee camp there. And we never knew what was happening in Iran until they came in our country. And there we understood that what the regime is now in Iran is a very cruel dictatorship. And all the Democrats, open-minded people that want to make world a better place, and they testified it with how they stayed in our country, because after them leaving, we inherited a paradise. We inherited a small Eden because they planted trees and flowers.
Wow.
And when they left, my journalist friend met them and she told them, don't you feel bad that you are leaving all this behind? You invested so much of yourselves here. And they said, we are okay with making the whole world a better place.
Nice.
And perhaps this is some kind of testimony or witness on what is happening there. And I pray that all the wars all over are stopped, just as you did, Ross.
Yes. Yeah.
And I pray that God does not allow any innocent people getting hurt anywhere.
Well, I love that prayer. Yep. Let me ask you, just for clarity. So you this garden and the people that live there as sort of refugees, I guess, they were fleeing from the
regime, the Iranian regime. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All
because
right.
they are persecuted and they are killed, murdered there.
Yeah. Well, this is good stuff. No, I appreciate that, Clody. Thanks for sharing that.
Now, can I jump to your class, which
I'm ready.
I love?
I'm ready to jump whenever. And just so people know, if you have other things, if you want to go from class to what's going on in the world, we're open for both. So go ahead, Clody. Let's do some class.
Yeah, I loved your class again, as always. And you know what happens to me when I listen to some of the classes that really ring to me?
What's that?
Is that I have an hypothesis on my mind. I have been pondering in things, and then you give all the proofs.
So we're working together then.
You give me all the proof, and I'm like, okay, he resolved it. I'm good. So thank you for that. Now, what I wanted to say is that we have some legends in Albania. One of the most famous legends is Rozafa legend, and the other one is the Dorantine and Constantine legend. The one has to do with a mother that offers herself as a sacrifice for the bridge or the castle to build upon her. But because she has an infant child, she tells them, please leave my left or right, I don't know, one of the sides of her body out of the wall.
Okay.
She tells them, leave my left eye, let's say left eye, so that I can see my son, leave my left part of the breast so that I can feed my son with my milk, leave my left arm so that I can pat
Yep.
my son, and so on. And we were this was taught in Albania like an Albanian legend.
Yeah.
And I have been taught this when I was in elementary school. And the second legend that I remember is Dorontine and Constantine. These are brother and sister. But Dorontine was the sister of 13 brothers. And the mother loved the daughter because she was the only one female.
I could understand that.
And,
13 boys.
Yeah, and the mother says to the boys, you will not marry her far away. However, they gave her to marriage in a faraway land. And then war came, and the first son dies, the second son dies, until the littlest one, the younger one, who was Constantine. And when the youngest dies, the mother starts shouting and cursing and saying, why, Constantine, why did you give your sister into marriage far away? How can I cry with somebody now? How did you leave me like this all by myself?
Mm-hmm.
And her cry was so strong that the Constantine, the brother, wakes up from the dead, of course, not like an real person, but like a dead coming from the dead in the living, in the land of the living.
Yeah.
And he goes with, because it says that the stone of his burial place became a horse. So he goes, takes his sister, and they ride all the way back. And when they arrive there, Constantine says, I have to go somewhere now. And she stays in front of the house and says to her mother that it's me, Dorontina. And her mother asks her, I'm sorry, this is way too long. I'm going to cut it short.
That's okay. I'm taking notes on this Albanian legend. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. It's unrelated, but I just want to say something after that. And the mother says to the mother doesn't believe that this is her daughter, because the daughter says that her brother brought her there.
And the brother's dead.
And the end of the tale is that they just stay one inside and the other outside, and they die. And now, after me growing up and going, when I was 13 years old, I went to Greece. I understood that they had their parallels of the legends, of these Albanian legends, supposedly. And after growing up and older, I see that the Dorontine and Constantine legend has equivalents, parallels in Germanic folklore, the Ballad of Lenore, and also in Hungary, and I don't know, in some other places. While the Rosafa legend of the mother with the infant, this has parallels in Serbian epic poem The Building of Skadar, has parallels in Romania, in Hungary, and even in faraway Japan. Just like the Noah's tales, by the way.
Yeah.
That we find the legends of this worldly flood all over the place. These are really modern examples of how a tale or a narration inherited from mouth to mouth become ours. We inherit them, and we start and put our things, our traditions, our beliefs, and we transform them. And what I see in the Bible and from your class, the proofs, I see this all over the place. Variations, different tales of the same thing, of the same motif. And I'm not very sure what year is the last compilation of the Bible as we have it, the earliest date of the Bible as we have it. But I think it's on the 10th century of our era.
Oh yeah, you mean the oldest complete version of the Hebrew Bible? Yeah, about 1008 of the Common Era is the Leningrad Codex.
Yes,
for the complete.
The complete, and we have also from the Septuagint, as I saw, on the 4th and on the 3rd century of our era. And of course, we do have Isaiah scroll. Thank God, that is dated much earlier.
Yep.
However, the compilation of all these are not as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot find them as a whole. And this really makes me think. This really raises many questions.
Yeah, one thing, I don't mean to cut you off. So am I jumping in too early?
No, you're jumping in right in the exact time that you should have.
All right. No, let me grab something off my shelf. I keep it handy. I've recommended, and believe me, now I read books that are not like page turners. You know what I mean? Sometimes I enjoy a good book that's, that you read, and I enjoyed writing a book that I tried to make like that. But most of my reading is pretty academic and pretty dry, other than the Bible. But one that I highly recommend, and Seth has a page on our website now that has the books that I recommend that aren't mine. Like, I didn't write this, but it is so good. It's called The Text of the Old Testament, An Introduction to the Biblia Hebraica. And it's by, it's very good, and I recommend it. Werthwein is the author, W, but it's German, so I guess someone else can pronounce it better probably. But anyway, this is probably, I want to say that it's one of the most important books that a person who loves these stories and wants to get to the bottom of, how did we get the Bible that we have from an academic standpoint? And I read that book. Very few books have I read more than once. I have to really like it. Like, I've read RAF a couple of times, several times, every version. This book, The Text of the Old Testament, I just completed it again last week. And it brings up, like, it gets into all sorts of things that I think are fascinating in terms of what do we have? What's our oldest version? Like you and I, you just said, our oldest complete copy of the Hebrew Bible, in one manuscript in a codex is the Leningrad Codex. But we also, what do we know about translations? We have the Septuagint, as you mentioned, and we know that that's early. And so, long story short, it's very important.
Dead Sea Scrolls.
Dead Sea Scrolls, yeah. So those kind of things are real important. Now, I want to jump back on, so I recommend that book. If you go to rossknichols.com, anybody can go to my website and
we added it to cart.
And it's going to bring you to a link on Amazon. I don't have those books, but we just say these are the most important. But when it comes to your story about legends, that's important. It really is. There are different views as to how these stories were compiled into what became our Bible, which we all love. And so when I'm looking at these stories, these various stories, what most scholars believe, and I tend to believe this, I think they're right, when we have different accounts Sometimes they use different forms of the divine name. Sometimes there are other clues that show us that it's the same story told differently. And when we
Exactly.
see those, one of the best examples or explanations that I've seen is that it's typically, quite often, one represents a story that came from the kingdom in the north, the house of Israel, Ephraim, the northern tribes, and the kingdom of the house of Israel. And then the other version is generally believed to be, or other versions generally believed to be, coming from the south, from the kingdom of Judah and so forth.
Judah.
And that's really spelled out, I think, well, when it comes to, as someone who's put it into a usable format where people can understand it. I think that one of the better books is Friedman's, Who Wrote the Bible. There are others,
Okay.
there are others, but again, that one's on my website as well. But to your point, there are reasons why, according to this understanding, that certain legends refer to people by certain names, whereas another might refer to the same person by a different name. I bring up quite often Moses' father-in-law. What's his name? I mean, is it Jethro, Ruel,
Yes.
Hobab, Jether?
Yes.
We have 4 different names. Now, there are reasons. Most people who are apologetic and try to explain that, they'll say, well, Ross, sometimes you're known by Saba and sometimes by Daddy. I won't tell you some of the bad names I get called, in emails, or Bridget's mad, but you have different names. But I think this is beyond this. I think we are seeing evidences of different origins of different legends which come together. And thank God that we have these different
Thank God.
stories. I am so
Amen.
happy, because sometimes people look at and they'll go, oh man, which one is right? Well, they're different versions. I mean, just like the examples that you gave, Clody, I was following what you were saying. I think it's an interesting parallel. And I think it's important. How do we get the stories that we have, and what are those stories in the ancient Near East that look similar? Do we have other accounts of flood stories? Yeah. Do we have other accounts of this and that?
I
Good
believe,
stuff.
to tell you the truth, that these are weird ways in which we polarize each other and we begin wars with each other. Because if you see on Facebook, which I really use, on Facebook, what the Serbians say to the Albanians and to the Greek in regards to their origins,
Yeah.
without even knowing their DNA tests, because that is really funny. It's ironic in its self. If you see how they curse at each other, we all curse at each other, and we say that you came much later than us in this land. You
Oh,
are
yeah.
not. It's funny. It's ironic. It's tragic in the same time.
Yeah. It
Because
really is.
we hate each other out of some words that we inherited. While life
go
is
ahead.
here and now.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to be good with each other.
Yeah, let me give you what I think is an example of that from the ancient world. There's a story that we get in Genesis where it gives us an understanding, an ancient understanding of how we got the Ammonites and the Moabites.
Mm-hmm.
The story, according to the writer, probably in the kingdom of Judah, says, let me tell you, did you know that Lot left Sodom and his daughters got him drunk, and one night after another, he slept with daughter number 1, and that's how we got this one and the other one.
Yeah.
And, it's, to me, when I read that, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend anyone, but I know some people believe that's exactly what happened. I think it is an ancient form of someone saying that group descended from apes.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
it's that clear to me now.
Even the giants, I think, the giants, the
Yeah.
tales of the giants. We have people that are not so just like Hitler. You think about this and you go to Hitler and how he said that his race was the purest one.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so unfair.
Yeah.
To humanity. But it is a really good a good layer,
Mm-hmm.
because everybody wants to be chosen.
Yeah.
So it's easy to make people hate each other if they want to be chosen.
Yeah. Yeah, I tell you, I love the biblical stories, and all my life, I've grown up and had a special place in my heart and in my head for the people of Israel. Their faith stories are, think this is what is so interesting to me. Of all the gods, of all the stories of all the gods, of all the stories of all the salvations of people, of all the legends, I'm in Louisiana, and my God is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Amen.
And so I naturally, look, I wear, like many of you, I want to say, when I wake up, I've got this on my neck, because of the people who were ruthlessly kidnapped on October the 7th, and I love Israel. But I tell you, I'm also an American. And not a crazy, I served in the military. This is where I'm from. This is my land. I'm very patriotic. And at the same time, I also have been to Jordan. It's one of my favorite places on the planet. Yeah, I'm telling you, and no offense to anybody else, but I'm telling you, I'm going to start being like Jesus and saying, blessed is he who's not offended at me, because I'm starting to say more as I get older that offends people, I guess. But I love Jordan. It's when I go to Israel, I love Israel, but I can't wait to cross into, partly because of my research, and going to that land. But when I tell you that I have a love for Bedouin, which is indescribable. Like one of my best friends in the Middle East is a Bedouin named Muhammad, and he lives in a tent 400 yards from where I sleep at night when I'm staying at Biblical Tamar. I drink coffee with him every day when I'm there. If I can, I've taken his kids to an all-Muslim school, picked them up. The teachers there know me. I believe that when we begin to see people as, people, and we quit with all of the barriers to building loving, lasting relationships, that's what the world needs. And you know what? The prophets of Israel made that point pretty clear. And I think there's things in the New Testament that made that point clear. And I think there are things in the Quran that make that point clear. Now, there's plenty of other stuff that cause division and strife, but man, anyway, I just, I don't know. I just want people to know that one of the main things that I've been thinking about all week, and Bibi Netanyahu, regardless of what people think about him, like Tabor said, the point that he has made this a very big deal. He's telling you people, good people of Iran, please know this is not about you. And we have a long tradition of being friends and friendly to one another. I think that's beautiful. I think that's what we have to do.
Amen. Amen. Amen, brother.
All right. Well,
that would be
okay. Well, come on back if you have something else, Clody.
I won't be like last week. No.
All right. Well, here's the thing. No, do it. You got a record to beat. I think you have to come back 5 times. Now, let me say this. We're going to tell our YouTube audience goodbye, Shabbat Shalom. If you're part of the Yachad and you're not over on the Zoom call, please come on over, and otherwise, we'll see you next week. Again, keep praying for the things we've mentioned here. Thank you for all you do. Thanks for joining us. God bless you, and may peace ultimately descend upon our troubled planet in ways that we can't even imagine.